Hello everyone, you're listening to the Eiffel Tower podcast. My name's Oliver G. Today with me,
Lina Norden G.
My wife and love first lady of
thank you.
of the company. And today we're going to be telling the story of how we stayed in the legendary luxury hotel Le Meurice. There's a big backstory to it. The episode brought to you by the guidebook that I just released. So you can find it at theeiffeltower.com/guide. I'll talk about it more at the end of the episode. But to really understand this story, we have to go back 15 years. When Lina, as a young Swedish girl, became obsessed with what she's later called a piece of French literature. Is that true?
Stop looking at me like that.
And to understand that, I want to take you back to Stockholm in the year 2005. Are you ready, everybody? Let's go on that journey. So we're going to get into the hotel and the full story of that, but first, tell the folks at home about your life-changing moment reading this French literature so we can set the scene properly.
So what Oliver refers to as French literature, which, yes, I can agree to some extent.
Because you said it. Lina always said to me, I read this piece of French literature.
Well, it's got a French word in the in the title, sort of.
Go on.
To me, it sounds French. The débutante divorcée.
The débutante divorcée, and we're holding the book now, which is going to come into it. By Plum Sykes.
By Plum Sykes, this great, grand piece of literature.
And you said to me, as we were walking one day of the early days in Paris, we were walking past Rue... Which one was it?
Bonaparte, and the corner of Rue Bonaparte and Rue Jacob. Yes.
Where there's a La Durée. And you said, wow, Oliver, let me tell you. When I was a girl, I read The Débutante Divorcée. There was a scene, I think. There was a scene that was based there, or...
Yes, exactly. So in this book... Well, it's basically like... What do you call this sort of book?
I think it's chick lit.
Chick lit.
Yeah, to read, just give you... on the back it says, Sylvia Mortimer is licking her wounds somewhat. She's back from her honeymoon and her husband is already AWOL. But then she meets Laurent... How would you pronounce that? Blount? Blount. Queen Bee of... Lauren. She's French. She's American. Lauren Blount, Queen Bee of Manhattan's glamorous debutante divorcee set, and so on.
And so forth.
Okay.
And it's great. I remember it being great.
Right.
I was, 15, 12? I don't know, something like that. The year was early 2000. The jeans were low-rise. The crop tops were cropped. I had terrible highlights in my hair, like all sorts of colors. You get the picture.
So if we skip ahead now, Lina remembers this book very vividly. We skip ahead to 2021.
Yes.
And Lina's birthday is coming up. So what do is I find the book.
I can't believe you remember this.
I can't believe I remember it.
I cannot believe it.
I found the book and I gave it.
How do you remember it?
I don't know. I must have written it down when you mentioned. It says New York Times bestseller.
Oh, yeah.
And
well, there you go.
Even though your birthday was a while ago, you still haven't read it again.
No.
But I think we can do more on this. But
Itching.
The point is, that's how this story starts, because on her birthday this year, she opens the book, has a good laugh, trip down memory lane. But when she opened the book, inside was the real present. And that's what leads us to today's topic. But first... we need a disclaimer, I think. A few disclaimers.
Yeah.
We're not the type of people that stay in luxury hotels ever.
No, never.
We never have. And this was a special occasion, a very special occasion for about 8 reasons.
It's like, many special occasions.
Yeah. So I just want to make that clear for everyone. That this isn't Lina and I's hobby is to stay in 5-star hotels in central Paris.
I wish.
Yeah, I know. Rather the opposite. And it's a stark contrast to... I talked about it on the podcast before. People often ask for hotel recommendations.
And you're like...
I say the hotels we stayed in France were on our honeymoon where our budget was €40 a night. You do not want my tips. But... I
can tell you what to avoid.
We could do a huge list of what to avoid in France. But the idea was, I had this idea, we had the horrid year of lockdown in Paris. Everything had been closed. And I thought, what if I combine Lina's birthday with my birthday, with the birth of Otis.
So his birthday.
Yeah. And also, I don't even know if you remember this, Lina,
Tell me.
But I've taken a little trip down memory lane and found
Again?
this.
What book now? Oh no, I'm
This is,
trembling in my boots.
At the start of the year, we did a bucket list, which I know you've forgotten because you haven't ticked off anything off your bucket list. And I've done almost
seen
all.
that you sneakily ticked that. Okay, so this is what Oliver's like. He's like, what should we do this weekend? And he's like, I don't know, but maybe we could go to blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then I've just seen that you secretly ticked off your whole bucket list. And I'm like, what?
I told you at the end.
I know, very annoying.
I've done all but one, and
Very
you've done
annoying.
a 1 of 5. You did a really hard bucket list. But I want to play the audio from about a year
Evidence.
ago. But listen, it's kind of cool. Here we go. Number 5. It says, stay in a nice hotel.
Oh, wow. Yeah, okay. I realized that I am getting, I have a theme here. It's quite an exclusive theme.
So a nice Paris hotel?
But yes, again, I was talking about, when you live in a city, you never do the touristy things in that particular city often. And I would like to feel like a tourist. I would like to get a tourist version of Paris. Because it's been a while. It'd be amazing to go to a beautiful, nice hotel and have a lovely room and just get that experience and pretend it's like first night in Paris, that sort of thing. And I think you can really quite easily simulate that by not being at home.
Do you have a hotel in mind?
No, but something like
You're thinking like
Meurice.
the Meurice.
The Meurice.
So Le Meurice. You said it.
Oh la la.
Yeah.
I
And
did.
So you'd said that, and that was in the back of my mind. And I figured, why don't I just book a night in Le Meurice Hotel?
Wow, what a thought.
There was an extra bit to it as well. For anyone who's read my book Paris on Air, and I feel like that's maybe most of the listeners now, or at least maybe they heard the audio of it. Le Meurice is the sort of legendary hotel, center of Paris, where I accidentally took Lina for a drink on like our second ever date. Was it our second ever date? Something
Yeah,
like
where
that.
one drink costs the same amount as a...
Week
What is
of
it we usually
groceries.
say? A week of
Yeah,
groceries.
and it's
for-
true. That's
Yeah.
what it was in those days when we moved to Paris about, like 7 years ago or something? 2015. So all this came together, and I was like, it would be really nice to mark a special occasion and a full circle by booking a room at this hotel. And we're going to tell you the story of how we got the room and also what it's like there, kind of give you an insight. But I think the story of it all is just as fun and interesting as the story of staying there.
Yeah.
So the story continues. I thought, this is going to be an expensive place to book. There's no way I can get anything besides the cheapest room. So that's exactly what I did. In fact, you go on the website and I ordered it from cheapest to most expensive. I
Yeah.
didn't even look towards the most expensive ones. And I got the one... In fact, I don't think I told you this, but it was like a room for a single person. It was like one person. They say, how many people...
And
Sorry.
then you were like, oh, let's see if we can squeeze in 2 more people.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
All
baby
right.
bed and space for you as well. So I booked it, and it was, in terms of the price of a hotel room, it was kind of expensive. But a special occasion, small room, who cares? I figured, let's do it, this one-off. And this is where the story gets interesting. So I booked the room. Lina knew that we were going, and we were looking forward to it, and it was about 2 weeks to go. And we were excited.
So excited.
We had been
yeah.
really looking forward to it. This idea, just having a holiday in the
I
city.
mean, just to see what the rooms were like. If there's anything, we've been to the bar,
Yep.
the bathroom,
Yep.
because
Yeah.
bathrooms and lovely hotels are always the best.
The lobby, even just the lobby.
The
is really-
lobby.
But we were excited to not just stay at this sort of this famous hotel, but also to have a holiday. Having a new baby and everything, it just seemed like a really fun thing. So we'd been really looking forward to it, and I got this taste of 5-star hotels when I interviewed Alec Lebrano, the food critic, on this very podcast about 2 weeks before we were to go to the hotel. And I met him, and he was in the Plaza Athénée, and I was interviewing him, and he said, I said, how? What? I said, what's the deal? You're staying in this hotel? He said, well, I'm writing a story about
And it
it.
wasn't just any old room, was it?
Oh, no, he was he was in the Carrie Bradshaw room, up on the top floor, I think. And he said, you should stay here. I'm sure they'll let you stay here or so on. And I was like, look, I'm always a bit hesitant with running a podcast and trying to get free stuff because then it clouds the recommendations.
Yeah, for sure.
So I said to him,
it becomes very quite like biased.
Sure, and plus there are a lot of people that have accounts in Paris that just stay in nice hotels, and then you wonder, like, is this even real life? You know, the whole thing's a bit weird. And I said to him, well, Alec, I booked a room in another hotel. I'm staying there in 2 weeks.
You booked a closet.
Yeah. Well, that's what I imagined that the cheapest room would be, like looking out onto the garbage room or something like that.
No.
And he said to me, well, you've got to meet the woman who does, I don't know, the press or whatever.
Me up.
Yeah,
right.
He said you've got to meet her. Because you never know. This is how it's done, or whatever. I don't know. And so we met this woman, and he said such lovely things to her. She happened to be in the hotel at the time, and then he mentioned about the podcast and how many listeners there are and everything like that. And he said to her, he's staying at Le Meurice in 2 weeks, and she said, "Really? I do the press. I don't know what her job title was." She says, "I do it for Le Meurice as well." She goes, "You booked a room there?" I said, "Yeah, special occasion, full circle. We had a cocktail there 7 years ago, whatever it was." And she said, "Wow, I'm going to make sure you're pampered when you go there."
Pampered?
And I went home and I said to Lina, "What do you think pampered means?"
Yeah.
Because we
looked it up in the dictionary.
And so what followed is the story of us arriving at Le Meurice, this full circle, after being there too scared to get a second cocktail. And we arrived, and what followed was like the most wonderful 24 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe of our Paris time.
Maybe of our lives.
Yeah, maybe. And I figured we'd share a little story. We'd explain to you what happened, because it was quite surreal. And I think a lot of people want to know what happens in these luxury hotels. I think a lot of people would be interested in what the rooms are like. And I'm sure a lot of people are intrigued by what happens behind the closed doors of when companies want to pamper people that have a large following, I guess. Because that's all a mystery to me as well, really.
Yeah.
So here's what happened. We walked into the hotel with Otis.
Yeah.
We walked there as well.
Yeah, I know. So we packed Otis's stroller full of our stuff.
Yeah.
So we came in like...
We were so unglamorous.
I know, it's so funny.
It is funny. We'll look back
and
on
these
it.
like lovely doormen tried to help us with everything. And
carried the pram up the steps. And we arrived looking like... I'm kind of hesitant to give away too many of these stories on the podcast because I'm working on the second book. But,
come on, give us a teaser.
Well, I was going to talk about the pram at the airport that time.
Oh yeah.
The people, like these 3 or 4.
This is the vintage looking pram stroller. I don't know what it's called in English.
You can see pictures of it on Instagram. I shared a few.
Yeah.
This big old pram. And when we checked into the airport one time, these 3 guys started sort of laughing and pointing, and one of them goes, what are their names? Charles and Mary, is that it?
Something like
Charles
that.
and Karen or
Sure.
something? He goes, "Oh, look, it's Charles and Mary from the Little House on the Prairie." And I think that they meant that the pram looks like one of the big wagons that they crossed America in. So it's like,
with those like the fabric roof kind of, yeah.
So we're checking into Le Meurice with this like,
Little House on the Prairie wagon.
And at this point, we don't know anything other than we've booked the cheapest room, and we're about
so
to...
out of place. Like around us are all these beautiful people with the glamorous luggage.
Probably
And we're like,
celebrities.
hello.
I think Robert
So
De Niro
funny.
has some connection to these
Very good.
hotels. I don't even know. Anyway, so we get to the checkout, and the guy puts us through, he types our name in, and he goes...
Checks the reservation.
They're super friendly as well. Super friendly, like always calling me Monsieur G and Madame Norden G and Otis. They knew his name and everything. And the guy's eyes bulged, and he goes, "Whoa, that's quite an upgrade."
Yeah, he broke character.
Okay. And he said, "Well, that's quite an upgrade." He says, "I think the manager's on the way or something." And one of the, I guess, senior staff or welcoming staff come out. And this is all very new to Lina and I. We've never done anything.
I kind of felt like I was in trouble. I was like, the manager's coming. Oh no, run.
What have we done? The pram. It's the
Wrong.
pram when you clean the wheels. So this staff member comes and there's extremely friendly. Like this, they say on their website about that. And by the way, I'm really glad that we can talk like this because we bought a room there, and this isn't in any way a sponsored post. Or anything like
this
that.
is real.
We're giving our
as
real
real as
reaction.
it gets.
The staff member comes and they're extremely polite and professional. They go, Monsieur G, Madame Norden G, Little Otis, welcome back to Le Meurice. You know, they referred to. They'd read. I think I'm pretty sure they'd read the part of the book that we'd been there. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me.
Amazing.
Because they were all very clued on to this story, and they say, "We'd like to show you your suite," and we're like, "Oh, sweet." And
you're like, "Sweet."
So they take us up to the room, and the guy opens the door and he says, "Welcome to the Heritage Suite of Le Meurice."
So it wasn't just one room. So it was like you open the first door.
Oh yeah, you open the first door and it's like
and it is kind of like a closet.
Yeah,
it's like a little tiny little hall.
It's like a hallway.
And we're like,
with an extra door. Yeah. And we're like, this is the Heritage.
Robert De Niro, I thought you had high standards.
But we had an inkling that something good was going to happen.
Yes. So behind the second door.
They opened this second door, and I wish you guys could be there. We did take some films and videos, and we're going to share it all on social media, but they opened the second door, and it was truly palatial.
It really was.
It was
this big room.
It was the best room.
Filled with light, and it was all like wooden walls.
It was one of the best rooms I've ever seen in Paris.
Yeah.
And I've been to Versailles.
Yeah.
It opens up. In fact, so it was huge. There were these huge leather, what do you call them, sofas? Just enormous big room. And this is just the main room. You could see before we even, there was so much to take in. Before we even got to the windows, you could see the Tuileries, the gardens of the Tuileries. We were up on like the
second, third floor,
up
like
high enough to see over the gardens. But what caught our attention was the table in the middle. Because, did I even say this? It was my birthday. It was the day of my birthday. I don't think I said that.
No.
Okay, so we booked it on Lena's birthday, for Lena's birthday, and for my birthday. And
on
we
your
scheduled
birthday.
it on my
Exactly.
birthday. So it was like all these special occasions at once. And on the table in the middle was a birthday cake with happy birthday. I think it had my name.
From Cedric
Grolet, which is this sort of super famous, the head pâtissière. Who does? You should follow him on Instagram.
Yeah,
he doesn't need the extra followers, but he's very.
Nope, he won't even notice.
No,
but
but
do it for you because it's very cool.
There was champagne. Lena noticed the frame. Tell about the frame.
Yeah, so it was this. Okay, so in the middle of this huge room and these two massive brocade silk sofas, there was a big square sofa table, I guess you call it, in the middle, and it was just laden with stuff that for us. So it was an ice bucket with a champagne bottle in. There was this like little wonderful cake on a beautiful tray on a foot.
Yeah, little pieces of chocolate. And
little
stuff
pieces
like that.
of chocolate. There were like wrapped gifts.
But the frame took you by surprise.
But the frame. So there was a small frame the size of a postcard, incidentally.
Yeah.
And I was like, I had to. It was a double take for me because I was like, whoa, that's really interesting. That looks like one of my paintings. It's like, that's ridiculous. Can't be. And then I looked again. I was like, hang on, it is one of my paintings. So they, it's just amazing. They gone to my Instagram, I assume, and printed out one of my own paintings and framed it. Just, I mean, that's just crazy.
And amazing. And then they'd also they got me a book.
Yeah, with your
that I could write in.
Yeah.
So I guess they researched us, and
they printed your name on it,
like
and
monograms.
in gold.
Yeah.
It was above and beyond.
And for Otis,
I know.
For our son, they'd got like a comforter or a towel comfort. You know the thing that you put a baby in when they get out of the shower,
like a
the
baby
bath.
dressing gown, sort of.
And they'd embroidered his name on it.
Yeah.
Now I'm just as I'm saying this, I realise that people might think this is irrelevant for themselves, but I looked them up on Le Meurice on Instagram, and it seems to me that this is what they do sometimes. Well, I don't know, maybe all the time. But so it's not just a birthday gift.
I mean,
for
it's
us.
just
In other
was
words,
very
if you want to
impressive.
ever treat yourself like this,
Yeah.
you can maybe expect the same thing. Who knows?
sure.
I got up the website to tell you because I realized they probably paint a better picture of it than we do. The Heritage Suite, Park View. You guys can all look it up. And remember, if you see the price, this is not what we paid. We got an upgrade.
No, we
because-
expected a closet.
Yes. Enter your own cosseted world.
Oh,
Do you know what cosseted means? Neither did I.
no. Cosseted.
Cosseted, I looked it up. It's like,
Cosseted?
it's like sort of...
Cassette.
Pampered.
Pampered.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Where the beautiful wood-panelled walls offer a haven of tranquility and an instant air of grandeur. Welcome to a charismatic statement of refinement and good taste, not to mention a spectacular view. So we were. There's a lot more to it. Shall I keep going?
Sure.
It's called the Heritage Suite. It's a delightfully classical space radiating a real sense of history and heritage that's carefully composed to highlight its flawless craftsmanship and artistic flourishes. An enticing fireside sitting area greets you on arrival, intimating what a wonderful space this is to relax and socialize in.
Okay.
We go through the bathroom, the bedroom. It's all amazing. We'll share all the pictures, and then the landscape view. You got the whole of Paris. You look to the left. It's all of Rue de Rivoli, starting with the Louvre and ending on the Champs-Élysées and the Eiffel Tower in the background. And it was just wonderful, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it was, well, by far the best room I've ever been to.
So we had this. We check in. We feel like kind of out of place. We obviously. It's obviously,
I came in and I dressed Otis in his little Ziggy Stardust outfit, his this little cool rock chick. He's a boy.
Rock chic.
I don't know where I'm going with this.
No.
It's just not even the baby, everything was just so, it was a
surreal.
different world.
Did you feel when we stayed there that you got the escape to your own city that you'd been longing for according to that?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because it was I was a tourist in that
It
room.
was really cool to stay in
I
central
was a
Paris.
tourist in that world, which was, it's very interesting to see your own city in a new light and from a new angle.
Staying extremely central in
Yeah.
the first hour and this
No, it was really wonderful.
And then what we did to totally complete the circle is Otis, who had just started sleeping through the nights, he doesn't anymore. We put him to bed and we set up a FaceTime camera on him and then went down 2 sets of stairs and had a gin and tonic in the bar.
Yes.
Which
It's a
was,
proper full circle.
Yeah.
We didn't have a second one though.
No,
Again.
still-
Going strong, same style.
But it was really lovely, and a huge thank you to the hotel for treating us so well. I assume they treat everybody equally well, but it was really, you know what it made me think a lot? A lot of people think French people are rude. Mm-hmm. I've never seen such good customer service. When you ring the phone, they answer in one ring, Monsieur G, or whatever. And it was just, all of them remembered our names.
Yeah.
Everyone was so friendly to us.
Imagine being able to stay like that all the time. You must just lose perspective.
It's funny that you say that, because there are interesting stories from this place. When I was looking around, there was a Salvador Dali room down the bottom, which a lot of people, I think, have wedding receptions in. I'll share pictures of that as well. Just breathtakingly beautiful room, and so named because he used to stay there a lot. And I think I talked with one of the staff members when I was down there. I think he used to pay for it in the beginning, and he'd stay for a month at a time, and then eventually, obviously, I think they just gave him a room all the time.
Yeah.
But he was, I think he used to give his paintings to the staff. Sounds like a bribe. Did you try the same thing when you were there?
I was like, you can print out any you like.
But also there was a story they told me that I think he threw paint out the window and it landed on the floor and it started some kind of movement of surrealism or something like that. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it rings a bell. It also sounds like one of these,
legends that
tall stories.
Yeah.
But who knows? It's a good story, and I like it.
All in all, it was a really wonderful experience. They have downstairs a restaurant that has 2 Michelin stars. We had spoiled ourselves more than enough, so we didn't go.
So we got a late night burger.
Yeah.
I know.
But
still good though.
The restaurant intrigued me, and I inquired about whether I could know a little bit more, and I'm very excited to say that I did indeed go down there into the kitchen, and I interviewed the chef, which is an episode that will be coming up next week.
And talk about different world again, right?
Oh, that was really interesting. You guys are going to love that one. It was me and I'll paint a little picture of what's coming next week. It was me and the chef, Meurice, and we were sitting at the chef's table. So, have I told you much about this?
Well, you showed me a picture, but I think you should describe what a chef's table just a bit quickly.
Well, this is magical. So I think this is where the celebrities also sit, because it's totally private. But it's this really beautiful room, and they call it the chef's table. It's because when they try new things, they show it to the head chef, who is Alain Ducasse, and when they cook him a new meal, they show it to him there. And what's really cool is there's, in those rooms, like a police lineup where they've got a mirror that you can see through, you can't see the other way. There's this window that they press a button, it opens, and you're looking in over the chef's cooking.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was doing this interview with the head chef there, who's young. He's like 32 or something. And I'm interviewing him about the cooking. And halfway through, he's like, "You want to see it? Let's go." And I took the microphone, we each had one, and we started going through the kitchen where everyone's cooking. And he's like, "Taste this, taste that."
So you got to taste it as well?
It was above my knowledge level.
Okay, great.
I didn't even know the words that they were using, but it was a cool episode. I think you guys are going to like it next week. But the point of it all is we had a wonderful experience. And if you're ever in a position to celebrate or spoil yourselves by staying in a luxury hotel, that's our experience.
Not sponsored, but can recommend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. Le Meurice, at least the cocktail is well worth it.
Or a bathroom visit. I mean, it's worth it. It is.
But really lovely. And I highly encourage... It surprised me often on this podcast, like very often, how many people don't follow it on social media. And I think that's because most podcasts don't have a lot of pictures to share. Like if you just interview people, there's not a lot of pictures.
If it's just a chat.
My Facebook and Instagram especially are very heavily populated with pictures of the things I talk about. Go and check them out. The Eiffel Tower. Lina is Parisian postcards. But that's enough about the hotel.
But I was going to ask you, are you going to cover it in your guide
Funny
to
that
Paris,
you say that.
maybe?
Yes, because last week I released my guide to Paris, and maybe you can interview me about it to finish.
Okay,
but
sure.
to finish, to answer your question, because this episode came out after the guide, it'll be in the next update. All I did was recommend the cocktail bar that we've been to before.
So you did?
Yeah, I mentioned the cocktail
For the first
bar.
arrondissement.
Exactly.
So this guide, how does it work? Is it basically, it's about like arrondissement for arrondissement?
Imagine you'd been exploring Paris for 5 years as your job. You've seen all kinds of things. You've had hundreds of guests recommending places.
Yeah.
Imagine that as that podcast grows, you start getting invited to renovated museums before they're open. So you've got an inside guide. Then imagine if you spent ages putting it all into 120 pages with your little brother Eddie, who's a graphic designer.
And then
and
see
then
the fruit of your...
And then imagine if when
your
it's done,
work.
you realise that some links don't work, some pictures need to be changed, some things are spelled wrong, some things have closed, some things
What
have
happens
opened.
then?
Yeah, you spend ages and ages doing it.
Yes.
So thanks, Eddie, for your patience. But we released it last week, and what it is, like I said, 120 pages of things to do in Paris. I'm getting a lot of emails about it because I shared on social media, a lot of questions, and people are saying, is it just the main tourist hits? No. It's a lot of hidden things. Like there's tips on how to find parts of the Philippe Auguste Wall.
But it's basically built like, so you have the tips on the best restaurant, park, whatever, cafe in each district.
So the first, and there's more on like the Marais districts or the Montmartre or the 7th arrondissement than there are on the less touristy spots like the 13th and the 14th.
Sure.
But it's a linear thing. You can read through it like that.
And it covers some of your special stories.
It covers all the highlights of the podcast if they're on a tangible place on the map. So, there's stories about the catacombs and stuff in the 14th. There's stories about...
Fun read?
Well, what I did is I put a focus on the renovated places. So like the Carnivale Museum, which I don't think I've really talked about on the podcast, but it's been renovated for the past... for the past ages, 5 years, I think. So I wrote a little bit about what it was like when I got in there and shared a picture of it empty. It's not just like, Carnivale Museum, open Monday to Friday, go here. Or I did a lot about the Milagro restaurant that was on this. And thank you so much to all you listeners who've been going in there.
To Milagro?
Yeah. I saw Justin, the chef there the other day, and he said to me since he's been on this podcast, and I don't know if this is true or he was just being nice, he said pretty much every single day someone eating there said to him that they're there from the podcast.
I feel like it's true because he said it like several times.
I know, it's incredible.
Yeah,
so thank you guys
that's very
for
cool.
that. Helps me because it lets the guests of the show know that it's worth their time to be on the podcast. So I appreciate that enormously. So that's the guide. The guide, you can get it. It's a perk of being a member. So if you're a Patreon member, which is $10 a month, you get it. It's right there. It's the top post. It's very easy to find. It's a PDF. You just press download. It's on your phone or on your computer. If you're not a Patreon member, fair enough. I can't expect everyone, but it's for sale for €20.
On your site.
On my website, you just go to theeviltower.com/guide. But if you're a Patreon member, don't buy it. It's already there for you. And your watercolors are in it.
That's true.
Because you know the previous editions of the guide, and these guides, they're the sort of the year's worth of work added to the previous stuff. And I noticed on the previous edition that I'd used pictures from, like, press pictures from a museum's website.
Yeah.
Or like pictures in the commons, the Wikimedia commons.
So you were like,
It's like for the
let's not be so lazy.
For the 5th edition of the guide, I went all in there, all my photos or Lina's watercolors. So it's quite, I think it's kind of beautiful.
Well, it's more personal.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anyway,
check it out, guys.
that's the guide. That's the, there are no sponsored, what do you call them? Sponsors on this program. So I promote my own stuff like the guide and Patreon, and I hope you guys check it out because that's what allows us both to be hired by this company, and Eddie as well as the editor. Should we give him some things to edit?
Are you going to swear? Come on, do your best.
I've got an idea. Good luck with this, Eddie. I've been talking... so when you become a Patreon member, you get access to a Facebook group. And in the early days, I put everything in that group. But then as I realized not everyone's on Facebook, I shied away from doing that and put it more on the website. But every now and again, I go into that Facebook group and get a conversation going. And the most recent one was about the next season of the podcast. And I said, what I'm going to do for the next season of the podcast, I'm going to revisit and I'm going to go to the next level. I'm going to visit every single like we did in the 8th arrondissement, you and I. So this is the season that we did before the lockdown.
So it had to end
abruptly. It ended abruptly.
Yeah.
And so the podcast really started gathering steam then. The New York Times wrote about it, and then it was really growing, and then we started doing lockdown episodes. So we're going to pick that back up, and there was a huge discussion about how to tackle it. And I'm really excited about what seems to be the general consensus. And Lina, you're going to be involved an awful lot, whether you like it or not. So there's that. Sorry for all the beeping if you're not a member. Even if you are a member, you know what we're talking about. You can sign up at patreon.com/the Earful Tower, and it allows us to take this show to the next level. If it wasn't for the Patreon members, we never would have done this episode, so a huge thank you to you guys. You're opening new doors for us. So a few things for you guys to look forward to with the next episodes of the podcast coming up. I'm way ahead of the game.
New season?
Way ahead of the game. There's a new season coming up, but that won't be until the new year. Next episode, as I said, a really interesting food conversation with a 2 Michelin star chef. After that, ding, 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 we're at 2 million downloads for the Eiffel Tower podcast.
Now that's exciting.
It's berserk.
2 million?
I
I feel like it was 1 million just, not long ago at all.
I know, and I didn't talk about it on the show because right when I hit 1 million, I got all the people to send in these beautiful... audio things, and I was going to celebrate it properly, but then there was like the really heavy lockdowns were happening, and it seemed weird to say, "Oh, look at me, I'm on an episode." And so I
Wrong timing.
No, I didn't do it at all, and so I had all this stuff that I never used.
But
I'm going to use a bit of it in this next one, and I think I'm going to sort of tell the story of the podcast because it's a milestone that I want to recognize and sort of take a step back. Then I've got the mayor of the 7th arrondissement.
The glamorous one.
Oh yeah, she's got a really intriguing story that I'm excited to share with you. And then I think we should do a bucket list again, either late at the end of the year or the new year, because it's such an interesting way to see it. Do you know that there's people around the world that do bucket lists based on this of their own city?
Oh, really?
Yeah, someone in Portland, shout out to whoever that
really?
was, started doing it with all their
that.
friends. Yeah, so maybe we can make it a worldwide thing.
Wow.
But I just want to finish on reading to you.
Okay.
Your bucket list, because you have
really?
you have weeks left to complete this. Okay. You have oysters at Le Baron Rouge.
Okay. Scrap that.
What?
Have oysters. Okay. Full stop.
See a performance at the Philharmonie de Paris.
Okay, scrap that.
Scrap that.
See a performance.
No, there's no scrapping.
In a cinema. Go to a cinema.
Learn to make croissants.
Scrap that.
Learn to eat croissants.
Have a croissant.
Eat dinner at the Tour d'Argent. Stay a night in a nice hotel.
Ooh, check.
That looks like a picture of Le Meurice there. It was really cool that it ended up being that one.
Yeah.
My list, here we go. Finally taste the wine from the Montmartre vineyard. I even took everyone on a private stroll around that place. 2, explore the Paris Set Cemetery. Did it with Amber Minot. Did I say pet?
Pet.
Set Cemetery.
Set.
Did I say it again?
Set pet.
Explore the Paris Pet Cemetery, which I did for an episode with Amber Minot. And then I wrote, have an expensive drink at the St. James Hotel.
And here I was, thinking it was a romantic date night.
I went and visited because it had been renovated for 2 years and restored and
but
remodeled.
Little did I know that you had sinister back thoughts.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the bucket list, the sinister bucket list.
As if you didn't enjoy it. Find the alleged underground lake at the Opéra Garnier. That's all I got to do. Uh-huh. And then number 5, I've got to do this. Eat dinner at the magnificent Train Bleu restaurant. Okay. We can maybe still do that. Anyway, start thinking, everybody at home, and Lina, about what you want to do 2022 in Paris. Okay. 5 things in ascending order. Yeah. Is
there a prize / punishment?
There's a punishment for sure.
What is it?
Buy dinner for 2 at the Tour d'Argent restaurant in 2022.
Oh, hang on, but that's on my bucket list.
We'll talk about prizes and punishments in the next episode. I think that will do for us. If you want to check out Le Meurice Hotel, it's Lemeurice. I'll be linking to their website and the rooms that we stayed in down below, sharing pictures of it on Instagram. If you want to check out my guide that we talked about, theeiffeltower.com/guide. And finally, if you want to become a Patreon member, it's patreon.com/the-Eiffel-Tower. Lina, do you want to end on anything?
Well, I have the debutante divorcee next to me, and I'm feeling very intrigued.
Okay, guys.
To start reading this again. It's what got me into Paris, it's true.
I wonder, maybe I'll read it as well.
Plum Sykes.
Guys, that'll do for us. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you check out next week's episode 2. And wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and whoever you are.
Or whoever you're doing.
Thanks for listening to the Eiffel Tower podcast. My name's Oliver G. This is my wife, Lina. And it is our pleasure to bring Paris to you every single week. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.